Welcome to Muse'e d'Art du Togo Love. I am Dr. Ryan Vandemere, primary curator of the exhibit you are about to enter. As your humble narrator, I shall offer insight as to what really goes on here within our museum. To begin with, Muse'e d'Art du Togo Love is a grand adventure for young and old. Indeed, it is listed by many tour guides and travel agencies as one of their clients' favorite places to visit. Once its visitors enter through its doors, they are instantly transported to another world that does not currently exist upon Earth nor anywhere else. As a master of psychological realism, our beloved Maestro Togo relies upon the 60 years of traditional skills he has acquired as an artist, while utilizing 21st century tools to produce his recent works, including this series, A Day at the Museum. As for his style, Togo insists that both his title and ancillary story or commentary behind each picture is as much a part of each work as the image. Now, shall we begin? If you should just follow me this way. That's it, please watch your step. Potential security personnel must pass all kinds of rigorous training. Security within Muse'e d'Art du Togo Love has never been an uncomplicated profession, even though guards appear to stand in one place all day and stare at the floor. Prospective guards must pass a long list of tests. Among the toughest of those involve sexual seduction. It is a known occupational hazard for both sex-starved or sexually addicted guards. If they can be enticed to abandon their posts by scantily clad, or even completely naked males or females, they run the risk of leaving the defenseless artworks alone and so, open to violation by insane, hammer-wielding art haters, or worse, free to be abducted by villainous art thieves. Several years ago, this problem ran rampant throughout museums and galleries around the world. Over and over, after every criminal incident, guards were found to be sexually involved with professional beauties in nearby closets while atrocious lawlessness was carried out in the galleries. Even now, while most of those art venues have moved online, the problems and incidents have increased 10 times over. Here, at Muse'e, we've instituted a rigorous training program that involves the most alluring of females and males who will try everything in their bag of tricks to lure a guard from his or her post. Will it ever end? Admittedly, Muse'e's program will take time to succeed because it has not worked out as expected. However, in some countries where the same test is applied, those museums are finding positive results, because failed applicants are jailed, castrated, or even executed. For the moment, those options are off the table at Muse'e. When her mother died, Sylvia was beside herself. Often at Muse'e, a person who is deeply disturbed finds great solace in their worried minds if they should discover a work of art that speaks to them. In this case, the young woman mistook the model in the painting to be her departed mother. Sometimes, the visitor creates a monumental disturbance over a particular picture that has enticed them into a sexual frenzy, or a violent uproar, or a royal fit while cursing like a drunken sailor. Whatever the case may be, the visitor must be removed from the museum. Many instances involve the police, emergency services, or even incarceration in a mental hospital. Sylvia, however, was no problem to our staff. She barely spoke but whispered her confessions to the painting, or what she believed to be her dead mother. Such is the power a mere mixture of paint and canvas combined by a great creator holds over the human condition. Expectation was the greatest impediment in her life. The woman here is supposed to be a metaphor about people who expect too much out of life. Perhaps, she believes that she deserves fate to be kind to her for some reason, especially when finding the perfect spouse, or career, or book to read, or even art to admire and properly understand as well. Shall we call her a cockeyed optimist? But, you know as well as I, that such people are doomed once they look into a picture frame and find it empty. The result is even worse if that person has no sense of humor. She remembers only clear skies. Often, when a model returns to a painting she had posed for months or even years before, she is surprised to find that she doesn't quite remember the experience which she now sees before her. For Katerina, she was astonished to find that, when she had posed nude out in the field, it was a beautiful day without a cloud in the sky. This sky is not as she remembers it. Here we see Katerina smiling. But, because her expectations had been shattered by the storm clouds presented in the painting, she was actually very angry. She shouted out loudly, "Truth is not here." Then she stormed out of the museum. We here at Le Musée were quite insulted. As the maestro always says, since when is art all about truth? Oddly enough, the Marchesa is no stranger to licentious behavior. Here we have the mysterious Marchesa Louisa Fontaine de la Roche Montana, who visits the museum once a week, and she is standing in front of her favorite painting of a biblical tale, The Rape of Susanna, by her elders. The staff at Le Musée have dubbed her mysterious because, although she claims to be a person of European royalty, she speaks with a definitely old-school Brooklyn accent. In fact, her communication with our own multicultural guides is often too difficult to understand. A visitor once told me that he happens to know that she is the director of a wife-swapping club on Long Island. If so, has the mystery been solved? Suddenly, Nikki recalled what, where and why it had happened. On March 11, 2011, a middle-aged female visitor took one look at a painting here at Le Musée d'Art du Togo Love and pointed to the picture, muttering in a strange language, somewhat like whenever religious folk speak in tongues. Then, she suffered a massive stroke. She died 3 days later. There was no explanation given as to why the picture seemed to have severely affected her. Some people surmised that she was the blonde girl in the painting, but the maestro claimed he had never seen the woman before, young or old. One of her relatives wasn't sure, but he thought he had recognized the brown-haired girl holding the knife. She was a neighbor who had grown up to be a schizophrenic who was charged with murdering a complete stranger to her. A writer for Rolling Stone magazine searched for the neighbor, but found that she had been strangled in prison in 1998. As for why that painting had caused the death of its viewer remains just one of the many mysteries that exist within Le Musée. Even in the darkest of times, Le Musée is there for you. Few people realize that Le Musée d'Art du Togo Love is so much more than just a repository of great art by the maestro. It is, as one famous Olympic gymnast put it, quote, a place where a conflicted soul can go to assuage one's pain, end quote. The editor of Hunting and Fishing magazine said of it, quote, Le Musée is a lighthouse in a world of darkness, end quote. I can go on quoting similar responses from important people from every corner of the world who have visited here, but the vast majority of normal everyday patrons echo these same sentiments as well. So my friends, if you should ever feel as that you are staring into the abyss and your future looks bleak, or if your past life has been wasted on pursuits you had never dreamed of, please find a way to enter our transcendent palace of enfranchisement. I'd advise you to purchase a lifetime membership, which is currently on sale for 30% off its regular price. You can find that passport to liberation at the membership desk in the main lobby. I urge you to do it now before the deadline expires at the end of this month. You'll be so glad you did, and just think of how much money you might save on medications. That, dear friends, is a quote from me. With that said, shall we move on to the next room? Museum guide Katrina can sell ice to Eskimos. I assume that you've all heard of that expression of an exceptional salesperson selling ice to Eskimos. Well, in this case it fits quite accurately. Katrina came to us with a background in sales consisting of a wide variety of marketplaces from used cars to swimming pools and real estate, moving on to the stock market where she accrued several $1 million with which she lost in a pyramid scheme she had concocted with a partner. When she emerged from prison, she was quite penniless. She turned to modeling and met Togo, who then hired her as the director of sales at Le Musée d'Art du Togo Love. Of course, the museum never sells any paintings and only occasionally sells a signed print, and always by final approval from the maestro. She admits she knows nothing about art. Then again, she knew nothing about used cars, swimming pools, real estate and the stock market as well. Despite her background, Katrina is currently being courted by 3 of the largest auction houses in the art world. Enigma's real name is Mary Beth Smythe Parkington. Enigma created that singular name for herself during the 1960s downtown New York City art scene. No one knew where this British beauty had come from. She played the role of a mysterious woman, perhaps of European royalty. Enigma became part of the Andy Warhol entourage for a short while, but then took off for Europe to act in several low-budget giallo and horror movies in Italy, France and Germany. Togo met her during that time and they shared a flat for 6 months in Paris. Enigma introduced him to Italian directors Mario Bava, Antonio Margheriti, Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento and several others. Togo introduced her to French director John Rowling, who then immediately cast her in his film, Requiem for a Vampire. She decided to leave Togo for a life in film, but Enigma didn't quite make it to stardom. In fact, she didn't even make it into Requiem for a Vampire. In many of those genre movies through the 1970s, she was uncredited as a background player, usually undressed, as the low-budget offers came more and more from softcore, pornographic filmmakers. Her very upper-class British family had totally disowned her by then. Togo lost touch with her for some years. Later, he heard that she had died in 1984 in a car accident in Denmark. She was drunk at the time and had driven her Ferrari off a cliff in the middle of the night. Her remains were not allowed to be interred in the Smythe Parkington family mausoleum. Where Enigma was actually buried is still, sad to say, a mystery. To think they had come so far and now this? The couple here had spent 2 or 3 days traveling 1,000 miles to Muse'e to see their favorite painting by Togo, which they had never seen in person. Unfortunately, they had arrived too late. The painting, which was on loan from the Museum of Modern Art in New York, had been removed the day before and sent back to its home. At first, they were almost weeping in disappointment. But they refused to leave their spot standing before the blank wall. They continued to stare at the wall for the next 2 hours. Staff members remember that, when they had turned to leave, the couple were sporting wide smiles and tear-stained eyes and thanked everyone profusely for the absolute joy they had just experienced. And now, my friends, I am sorry to say that our tour is over for today. Please come another day when we shall continue on our journey through Le Musée d'Art du Togo Love. Thank you for coming, and yes, restrooms are through those doors and to your right. Have a nice day.